of the devil. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting for the November Library Board meeting to order. We did have a delay waiting for a quorum, so that is why we are starting a little late. Looking at the agenda, first item, approval of the minutes from the October 25th, 2023 board meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Have you had the opportunity to review those minutes? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the October 25th, 2023 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Financial reports. Dr. Hahn, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. A lot of the money that we've spent lately has been for the coding club, buying the equipment for that, and then we also purchased our periodical subscription for next year. All of our magazines that we get through EBSCO was about $3,000, and other than that, it's just the typical expenses. And we're still in pretty good shape. The Dunn Trust has accrued $4,000 so far. And that's again up in February. And the Community Foundation endowment, we won't get anything from them until January, since it's quarterly. But I included that just to include it. So, yeah. And then we just had interest income for the savings accounts.
Any questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor of approving the financial report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, let's move on to the director's report.
All right.
Dr. Hahn.
All of the stats are good and expected for where we're at for the year. The Black Hills Art Association exhibit is coming down probably this weekend, I would think. And then Sturgis Williams Middle School will have something, hopefully next week they'll get that up. And then in January, Aspen Grove is going to display things that they've been working on. Meetings and programming all is kind of just pretty normal. We tried out they called it a life-sized Oregon Trail game. It wasn't quite that big, but they had like big dice and spots around the community room, and you kind of moved and you had money to spend and all that, just like the Oregon Trail game that was popular, 40 years ago to begin with, but has seen new life as time has gone on.
Was youth or adults?
Well, the first one was for families. The second one was for kids, and I think they were both pretty well attended, and people enjoyed it. And yeah, so that was pretty successful. So that was cool. And the coding club is going well, and we've started offering. The South Dakota Historical Society has online presentations once a month. Each month is one of their authors presenting on what they wrote their book about. Usually it coincides with a new book that's being released. And we've done that 2 or 3 times so far. It's there, I think, 6 to 7 at night. And we've had, I think we had 1 or 2 people show up to each of those. So we'll probably keep doing those. Lee was kind of moderating because they were on Thursdays, but they're moving to Tuesdays, and he won't be able to be there, but it's, I mean, you just set it up and open it up, so it's something that we can have running, and if people are interested, they can come and watch. So those are kind of cool. So that's been starting off kind of slow, but working better. The digital literacy classes I've been doing have grown in number. Started with 1, and then I had 2, and then I had 4 at this week. So, yeah. And so I'm not sure we'll have 8 next time, but so that's going okay. And then I will be doing some of those classes at the Piedmont Library and at the Lead Library. Through December and January. So that I think is something that once we're done with it may continue on, because some of the people really enjoy reviewing concepts that they already know or learning a little bit more. Mondays was on cybersecurity, basically how not to fall for a scam that, you get emails all the time, and also talking about passwords and, good things to do and bad things to do. So yeah, that's been going pretty well. Let's see, facility updates. I haven't fixed the ballast in the study room yet. I need to get on that, but nothing out of the ordinary, no big deal. The courier service is, we thought it was getting better, and then it kind of stopped getting better. The state librarian, we had a meeting with him last week, and he said the local courier actually he can't even get a hold of him anymore. They're just not answering his calls. So I assume that they're getting some pressure from the state and from Minitex, who oversees the courier program, and are, I don't know, just laying low, I guess. The deliveries aren't happening regularly, and but we do have one of our former librarians has offered to take up the courier service, and so she's put together a proposal. She's waiting for a few more details, and then we're going to present that. And if it seems like it will be cost effective, I think she and her husband will become the couriers for the consortium. So.
And that's Northern Hills.
Yeah, for the Black Hills Library Consortium.
Okay.
So it's basically right now the courier goes to Rapid City, Sturgis, Lead, and Spearfish are the 4 stops for the courier. Everybody else in the consortium has to pick up from one of those libraries. Most of them get their stuff from Rapid. All the Southern Hills and Keystone Hill City, Custer, Piedmont, they all go to Rapid City to pick up their books. So she may be actually doing a bigger route that would cover those libraries as well, or at least the possibility to that. So it may work out well for everybody. So we'll see how that's going, and I'll keep you guys updated. Talked about the digital literacy classes. We can talk about Medici TV and Kanopy in unfinished business. I talked to the Piedmont Library about reciprocal borrowing to see if that's something they were interested in pursuing, and Megan, the head librarian there, said that she's interested. So the idea would be that since Blackhawk and Somerset patrons can't use the Rapid City Library because they don't have reciprocity or within the prescribed area north of Rapid, that this may just kind of ease things, make it easier for them to get library cards from us, although they wouldn't have to get it from us because they could get it from Piedmont, and then we could share stuff back and forth, and it may just help streamline things. So we'll talk about that. We haven't had any discussions other than that there's some interest there. So, if it's something that we end up pursuing, then you guys would be involved, their library board would be involved, both cities, I imagine, would be involved, and we would probably use the Rapid City model that we have right now for a template as far as going through with that. The Rapid City Library is actually getting a grant to look at the feasibility of reciprocity throughout the whole consortium. And all of the libraries are basically on board with doing that. Entities, maybe within the next, it would probably be a 3 or 4 year process to get it all put together. But then if you had a library card for any of the consortium libraries, you could check out from any of the other libraries, which also would solve some of the courier issues as well, because that might lighten up the load a little bit. So we'll see how all that comes together, and it could be a good thing for everybody if that ends up working out. And then, of course, our reciprocity agreements, if we get one with Piedmont, would then go away because we wouldn't need them anymore. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. The other thing, and I had emailed you guys about this, there is a Moms for Liberty chapter in Meade County now. I haven't heard anything from them, but they typically are more interested in school libraries than public libraries, although they do pursue both. So for whatever that's worth, it's there. And that is pretty much about it. We're just kind of wrapping things up and getting ready for next year. And I think Sierra has a lot of good holiday programming going on. I had her print out a preliminary newsletter. She doesn't have it finished, obviously, but I wanted to give you guys at least a calendar so you could see. Actually, now that I look at it, though, she doesn't have the December calendar on there, so that not going to do us a whole lot of good. So never mind. But that should be coming out here by the end of the week. I think she'll probably have it finished, and then you can see what we've got going on. The Music Speaks for next month is going to be looking at holiday music from places other than the United States. So you won't have to listen to Mariah Carey as part of the thing. So not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, the symphony is playing that this weekend at the holiday concert. There's some singers, some local singers, or the Davis sisters are singing with the orchestra, and so that's one of the tunes that they're doing is that one. And so anyway.
During a midnight mass over Christmas, in a French, we were there with my mom, and a lot of tunes get borrowed, and I don't know who is first, but it was the Battle Hymn of the Republic. But it was a Christmas, so it was like
Yeah.
and I was like, ooh, not Christmas music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Different words though.
It's interesting.
Different words.
Yeah.
It's just same
Right.
tune. Same tune
Right.
and different words.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of those kind of patriotic songs actually started off as drinking songs,
Oh yeah.
and it's just Star Spangled Banner is one of them. It was a tavern song. So anyway, yeah, the history of that stuff is interesting. But at any rate,
Terry has a question.
Chris,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to the discussion we had last month about the quiet room.
Yes.
The room we designated when we built as the quiet room. And it's just kind of haunted me the last month that that was really supposed to be a soundproof room. And is there something the builder didn't do to make it that way? Or can we do something with the door to make it more soundproof?
As far as what the builder was supposed to do, I don't know, since I wasn't around.
Sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
As far as being able to soundproof that, you would have to rip everything off the walls, and you would have to, well, even putting in insulation is not going to soundproof a room.
Okay.
It's really pretty hard to soundproof a room, to make it really quiet. Essentially, places that need to do that basically build what they call as a floating floor, and so essentially you have a room inside a room.
Okay.
And so you would have to essentially build another room inside that one that didn't have, that vibrations couldn't transfer through. I think as far as, I think you would be looking at a pretty big chunk of money to try to even do a minimal amount of soundproofing. Like I said, you'd have to rip the walls down
Yeah.
and put up insulation, and you could use thicker drywall might help. You would have to insulate the ceiling as well, because sound comes through that, and as far as that goes, sound travels through ventilation. So,
Well,
that's,
it was the intent of that room for like people looking to have a job interview on
sure,
Zoom
sure.
or making a video or something would basically be, there wouldn't be external sound, and that's totally not the case. Is that what you're saying, or is it
well,
muffled?
I there's some bleed through, yes. Enough to make it unusable, I don't think so.
Okay.
So it's not like it's, having a screen door instead of a solid door. It's not, it's, if you're
Location,
standing
yeah.
outside the door, you can hear what's going on the other side of it.
Oh, you can.
Location alone, it makes that difficult probably. I mean, because it's the location of the
Well,
room.
right, yes, because yeah. But
I don't remember afterwards that, I don't know if.
We didn't try it, I guess,
We
but
didn't try it, or
I
didn't?
think it was mainly for maybe disruptive children or children
sure.
that were overstimulated to go
Sure.
in there and take a break and have it a calming
And,
room, but,
yeah,
we
and,
did
and I
talk
think
about-
it would serve that purpose.
okay.
I think my big guess is that the term soundproof probably was interpreted differently by different people,
Okay,
would be my guess.
all right.
Now, Is there a request for a room like that, I don't know if they're,
We use that for people that are having any kind of telehealth meeting.
so would like a noise canceling machine or something like that work? Having that right outside the door or something, so it's not disturbing them, but yet people can't hear what's going on inside?
I don't know enough about that stuff to be able to say how effective it would be.
Yeah. They work. We use them in our offices.
Yeah.
We have small offices and cubicles all over. They are effective. You can't understand what's going on in that room.
Yeah.
They can't hear the conversation. If
How,
that is
how
the-
loud are they?
It's like a white noise.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with those? Yeah, to me, it's like a white noise. It's
Is it
not
outside the
disturbing.
room or inside the room?
Well, you can have it either one.
Because outside the room, I guess to make it loud enough to drown out a conversation would then be disruptive
To
for
everybody
the
else.
for the people in the library. So,
I kind of look at it as a white noise, but.
and if it was on inside the room, it would mask some of the sound leaving, I would think.
I don't know if it would be disruptive for but anyway, something to
So,
consider,
yeah,
just the thought. Yeah,
Well, we had talked about, it, like I mentioned last time, trumpet lessons probably wouldn't be possible in there, but,
No.
someone to have
it's
a
too small for anything like that.
quiet place to do an interview.
And it
Video
works for
interview or
that. People are using that for like I said, for the telehealth meetings all the time.
Okay.
And nobody's complained about it.
Okay,
So,
good. All right.
So it's serving its purpose, I think,
That's why I wanted
if
to-
that's,
I was under the impression that it really wasn't too usable after last meeting, and maybe I misinterpreted that.
Yeah,
So I'm
no,
glad that
it's
being used.
well, I know you were talking about like if you wanted to do music lessons or something like that,
Right.
and it's just too small for that. Is really more of an issue than anything. I mean, it would be, yes, it would be loud for everybody else, but if you were inside that room singing or playing, the sound level would be above OSHA guidelines by quite a bit.
Okay, thank
And
you.
so, yeah. So for what we use it for, it serves its purpose.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Well, no, that's,
Good, thank you.
that's,
All right, well, let's move on to unfinished business.
well, there was actually one more thing.
Okay.
I had mentioned the kitchen stuff, and as far as there is at least some money earmarked to spend on kitchen items. I know there's a few things that Sierra would like to have for Needs and Noodles, so I think it would be a good use for that. So if any of you guys want to jump on that and look at what's there and what you think we need, and that would be, you're welcome to do that. So if some of you wanted to form like an ad hoc committee to go over the kitchen contents,
I
and
think we had a committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so reactivate the committee perhaps.
The kitchen.
I'd be happy to do that.
So if that's something you guys want to do, I mean, this is literally all that I have
Okay.
about the kitchen. And so, and you could go through and look and see what's still there and what's not there anymore. And, there's some stuff that we've added. And so, yeah. So if you guys want to do that,
Inventory. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
happy to.
Okay. So let's see.
Unfinished business, Chris.
All right. We can do that. Sorry, the secretary's running behind. All right. Okay, unfinished business. All right. So, yeah, we had talked about adding Kanopy and Medici TV as possible services for our patrons, and I'm wondering if you guys had any input, if you'd had a chance to look at those. Kanopy only gave us a 2-week
I was gonna say, I didn't get a chance to do
subscription
Canopy, but I did Medici.
for, and it wasn't, Medici could go out to the public. I'm not sure I didn't get notification that anybody filled out one of the online surveys, but I have talked to a few people about it. The general thought behind Kanopy is that what they offer is most of it is readily available on other streaming services, both free and paid. So there's not a lot that somebody wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. And I spent some time looking at the kids side of it, and most of what they have are it's the same stuff we have on what's it called, on our service that we have for kids already, that basically reads storybooks and all that. That's mainly what was on the children's stuff. In fact, some of the same stuff, so there would be duplication. So and then they also, it looks like they kind of increased the cost of things, because instead of saying it's going to cost you X amount to do it, they say, it's a ticket. And everything was 2 tickets. And then we decide how many tickets patrons get. They just redid that, and a lot of the stuff that I was looking at is actually 4 tickets now. So I think it wouldn't provide something that is lacking.
Right.
And that's Canopy?
That's Kanopy. And that's one of those things, again, where it's a floating, you give every patron X amount of tickets a month. If they use them, we get charged. If they don't use them, we don't get charged. And then you either put money in every month or you put a big amount in for the year, and then it just whittles its way down. But I think overall, from looking at it and seeing how it works and seeing what they offer, I'm not sure it's in my opinion, I don't think it's worth the money. And some of the library staff that looked at it kind of said the same thing. They said, you know, this is stuff you can find on Netflix or wherever
It was
else.
easy to maneuver, easy to sign up. I mean, so that part was
Yes.
good. Yeah, the selection. I mean, I ended up watching a couple old movies, which
Sure.
you know, as I was looking, there wasn't anything that was newer. I don't know.
Right.
I don't watch TV
Right.
at all, so. But I do
Yeah.
think that what was on there, like you said, is available in other places.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the stuff that wasn't, I was surprised. Some of the more niche things, like some foreign films and stuff, were actually 4 tickets instead of 2. And so, yeah, that was kind of the general feeling about that anyway. Medici, though, fills a need that we don't have in the area, I think. And the people that I talked to, a few of them that did use it, liked the selection. And it's not a huge selection, but it's good. I mean, it covers all the bases, whether it's symphony, opera, ballet. They have documentaries. They have master classes, so you can watch somebody teaching some. And then I dug into the jazz component a little bit as well, which is pretty good is also. So that I think has more of a use. One of the nice things about it is that they have basically you can link all the stuff they have to our library catalog because they have MARC records for everything. So if somebody typed in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, they would get a link to take you to Medici. So, or if you wanted, you know, if you put in the Barber of Seville, we would have every version of it that they have on their service in our catalog. So you could just, boom, go right to it and search for it. And their stats say that libraries that do that have about 30% more use than libraries that don't. So that's good. Another thing, and I just learned this today, they sent me this nifty little folder, is that their live performances, I think definitely the live performances, but maybe even the whole thing, can be, you can use it for public broadcasts. So if there was, because they do premieres, or not necessarily premieres, but live events. So if we wanted to host a concert in the library and make it more like a concert experience, we could do that. And we could invite people and we could stream it live and watch it and, you know, have a party and it'd be great. So, and we wouldn't have to pay extra for it is the nice thing, is that's included in the fee we pay for it. So that's kind of cool.
When you talk about master classes, it could be like learning carpentry, learning
No, just musical. Just music, yeah. Yeah, so you could see a violinist listening to somebody perform and then offering suggestions to them. And these are usually real high-level performers, but they can be interesting. It just depends on who's doing the master class. They can be, yeah, it's interesting to see as far as a musician, you know, you can pick something up.
How many did you have looked at this?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Those
I did
statistics I
not,
don't
but
have.
I have a friend, because music is not my thing, so even if I did go in and look, honestly, I'd be like, I don't think I'd be a very good critic. That's just not my wheelhouse. But I had a friend of mine, I'm like, explained it to her and just said, you know, like, here, just look in here and see. And she was so excited with the concerts. And so, you know, she's like, where do you have to live to get this? You know, so I mean, she was very excited, and her kids they play violin and the harp and that kind of stuff, so they're very musically inclined. So
Yeah.
if you have the right people, like you said, it's a service that we don't have. I think that it might be of interest to those people.
Yeah,
It does, fills a gap.
a gap that we don't, yeah.
Do they publish a brochure every month or a catalog that?
No, they don't rotate their, it's not like a movie service where they change their movies all the time. They're just continually expanding their database. Now, some of their live
Yeah.
performances, they had stats in here, let me see if I can find it.
They're unlimited to the.
150 live events are streamed each year with replays available for 90 days. So any of the live events are up there for 3 months and then they go away. Now, They may at some point come back if it's something that was actually packaged and published and rights were figured out and all that. Then it could come back as an event. But their library is the same. Well, expanding, but it doesn't disappear. So 3,500 musical works, 3,000 plus videos of concerts, 200 plus new programs added every year. So there's a lot there, and it's continuing to grow. So.
And it's $1,000 flat fee.
1,000 for just the classical, an extra 500 if you added the jazz to it. So it would be 1,500 flat fee. Yes.
And that doesn't matter of how many people are
No.
watching or,
Nope. It's based on the service population is the fee. Yeah.
I
Yep.
think, discussion from the board before we, any questions on?
Do we have a budget item, or is there somewhere you can
Well,
pull
that,
some money from
since the
another-
budget is set for next year, my thought about it was, if we used some of our savings to pay the first year, I would guess that adding $1,500 to our budget for that would not necessarily be successful. So what I envision would be asking for a percentage of it and then increasing that percentage over, say, 3 or 4 years until it was completely in the budget. And we tend to be spending less on audiovisual than we did in the past. And some of that is because we get a lot of DVDs donated. Some of it is we're not, with the rise in Libby, we're not checking out as many audio CDs as we used to, so we're purchasing less there. So some of that money already could be diverted toward this service. Then with the idea that eventually it would become part of the budget.
And are we right now in the trial period, or was that just?
The trial period, yes, it should be wrapping up. I'm not sure when it started, but we may have a couple days left. I was on it yesterday and it was working, but they gave us 30 days of service to try it out.
And Chris, do they let you know how many people are checking going in?
Yeah,
So-
they give you stats as part of the, once you subscribe to it, then you get usage statistics, and I'm not sure how complete that data is as far as whether they give you just the number of users or if they tell you who used it or how many times each person used it. I'm not sure about that. But, and that I guess would be not as useful as knowing how often it's being used. Yeah.
And I do like when you said that it connects with the library.
Yeah.
That way they don't have to like go in and register and get an account or anything. Or
No,
do they?
it would be, there are different ways that you can log in. I think the way that we would do it would be with your library card. So just like with Libby, you would sign up with your library card and have access to it.
So when you click on that, when they're in the library catalog, they see something, whether it's the song or, whatever it might be, an artist. They click on it, it'll take them there. Okay, it'll take them
to a
there.
login page, I'm sure.
Perfect.
And then I know it will save your login information.
Okay,
So you wouldn't have to input it every time, I don't think. I know it saves the password that they gave us, because it lets me just click and go right into it, so I would assume it'll do that.
I just looked it up.
Oh, okay, there you go. So just,
Saturday.
so we've got the rest of this week to look at it.
It would be great if we could get it out there and let people know it's available in some way so that
They have brochures we can get from them, we can do social media posts, there's all sorts of stuff we can do to really push it. And we did some posts when the trial period opened up. But they don't keep, I think they told me that they don't have stats for that. for the trial period. So it would be something that if we tried it and we decided that the numbers didn't justify the cost, then we definitely have to revisit it.
If I remember, it said that the first year is probably going to be the slower year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it would
Which
take
makes
time to ramp
sense.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about, I don't know how many people I talk to that, oh, I used to love to go to the symphony, but I don't like to drive at night anymore. So they don't go. Well, here,
Go.
you can, I could see those people using it.
I would think students would use it too.
You would hope,
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
get it out to those music instructors and.
yeah.
Well, and now is the time that people are, winter months home and really have the opportunity to look at it instead of, starting it in June and expecting
Yes.
people to stay at home on summer nights to
Yeah.
watch a symphony.
Yeah. Well,
Sounds
they could do it outside. They could set up a screen outside and a projector
There you
and
go.
Yeah,
have outdoor concerts.
good.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Chris or anything else that were questions before we move on?
I just like, I'm looking at our savings account
Mm-hmm.
and wondering what you'd take out of that and what you'd pull from the digital library budget funds.
I would. We have 4,000 for audiovisual for next year. So, I'm thinking we could do, I would imagine at least 500. Well, hold on, if you give me a second, I can tell you.
Because we're what, 4 months into the, 4 months into the new year,
No, it's,
budgeted year?
no, it starts in January.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are not.
So
we
we're
should
at the
be
end of
Oh, okay.
the year.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it would
okay.
be for next year.
I was, sorry, I'm confused. I was thinking it was
Yeah.
fiscal
Wrong,
year.
wrong, yeah. Well, the fiscal year for Sturgis does run January through December. Yeah.
So can you see what's left in that account?
Well, that's what I was looking at right now. We spent, $1,200 so far on audiobooks and DVDs. So some of that money was used for Libby to purchase some books for our library. So that is like I said, that number has gone way down because of all the donations and,
It's budgeted
So,
4,000 and
it's
we
budgeted
spent
4,000.
1,200.
well, we spent 1,200 on audiobooks and DVDs. We spent,
Libby comes out
Oh.
of that too.
Oh,
let's see, well, hold on, maybe that's in there. No, it's not. I would say about probably another couple hundred on Libby stuff. Well, probably 300 on Libby. So we're still looking at 1,500.
Left over at the end of the
Under
year.
budget.
No, 1,500 total.
Total.
And well, and we had more this year. Some of it got shifted to making up for increases in the books, because Baker and Taylor raised their prices up to 40% in some cases. So that dug into that money.
is there anything else that will come out of that fund budget line item for the rest of the year?
No. Well, no. I mean, there's still some stuff that's in the pipeline right now. So the money will be used. I'm doing my best to spend our budget by the end of the year. I think we're going to be really close. So
So you don't think there's any funds that we can take out of that?
Or Medici.
well, at this point, I guess I would say we wouldn't start it until next fiscal year.
Right.
I
so
mean,
is
there's
that
no
what you're
sense to
saying?
start it now.
Right.
Well, I guess we could. Then we would have an overlap And I think just as far as budgeting and keeping things clear, I think it'd be better to start it in January.
So that might be where you put it in the budget.
Where you'd
is-
pull some from that account. And
Right,
then
so I could pull some from that account for it for next year.
just so we are clear on it, I just wanted to know
Yeah.
how much we will be pulling out of savings.
I was anticipating 1,000
And then 500 out of the,
and then 500 out of audiovisual. And, yeah, that would be my guess for next year.
Well, we see how.
And then, yeah, and then that, depending on if the audiobook and DVD purchases continue to decline, that would free up a lot more money for that as well. So potentially it wouldn't
could
be
fund
that
the
big
whole
of an
thing.
increase, yeah. Ideally, that would be the best place to go, would be so that it was included in the budget every year. That way in 30 years, we don't have to figure out how to replenish our funds.
There you go. I enjoyed the ballets. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, those are great. And it's nice being able to kind of see up close, to see the technique, which is
Yeah.
just, yeah, pretty amazing.
I think got the
Further
contractor
discussion?
right now.
Yeah, any further discussion before I would entertain a motion on Medici TV?
I'd move to approve the Medici TV for 1 year, starting January 1, with $500 coming out of the audiovisual fund and $1,000 out of savings.
Now, which savings account?
Our First Interstate Bank savings,
Well, they're both, we have the Dun Trust savings, and then we have the regular savings account.
I'd say regular
Okay.
savings. That's the amount you showed us with the $35,000 balance. That's what it shows
Well, I've got them
here.
both,
Yeah.
I've got them both listed. They should be both listed. Did one of them not make it? The 35,000 is
Regular.
the regular savings. The Dun Trust is 25,000 right now, with more to come when the CD comes due. So yes,
All right. So it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved.
can I
Oh, yes.
amend that just to say not necessarily January 1st, but January?
Sure,
'Cause-
absolutely.
Yeah, just,
After January 1st, how's
okay,
that sound?
that sounds great. That sounds great.
All
Well, it's gonna be easier budget-wise not to pay
Make
for it
boom.
until after January 1st.
Okay.
All right, so it has been moved that after January 1st, we will look at the $1,500 for Medici TV with $500 coming out of the audiovisual account and $1,000 out of the regular savings account. Is there a second?
For 1 year only.
For 1 year only, and then we'll revisit it.
I will second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Chris. I think it'll be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think it will be. Kristen, did you second?
I did.
Okay. All right,
All
Okay.
right, all right, new business.
that's that. All right. So, at the, we had talked about this last month at the South Dakota State Library session that they had here. One of the things that we talked about was, well, a lot of it was about policies. And Cricket and Lance were there, and they talked about some of the things that it's, just basically they talked about it's better to be clear than not in policies, and that, it's just better for everyone if everything's spelled out. So while our collection development policy is good, having looked at it, I think that there are some places where we can clarify some things. Because when you read it, there are a few things that are a little bit fuzzy. And so I went through and I looked at not only Vermilion's policy, which was just recently updated and is very well written, but Denver Public Library and Donia had looked at a couple others as well. And so there's some things that I think we can change. Well, not change as much as just clarify. And then if we decide that these are things we want to add to it, then I can run it through the legal department to make sure that it's that everything is kosher that way, and then we can have a second reading of it in January at our next meeting. So your packets should have in red the changes. So I thought maybe I can just kind of go through them, and then if there's something you want to talk about, we can go ahead and talk about those as we go through it. Starting with the library aims, just expanding basically to all protected classes in state or federal law, like it says, just giving a few more examples of who we're serving. And yeah, so that's why that's there. And then at the bottom of that paragraph, I just changed the grammar from printed and non-printed to just all print and non-print materials. So that's just a grammar change. As far as responsibility for material selection, I changed the wording because on the American Library Association's website, it's no longer called Statement of Labeling. They've changed the title of that particular page on their website. So I changed it to reflect that, to labeling systems and interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights. Part of that, they've also changed, they added what I have in red, or in resources accessible through the library. They added that to their statement as well. So that's just updating the wording so that it reflects what is on the website. Same thing at the end of that sentence or paragraph on the next page. Likewise, providing access to digital information does not indicate endorsement or approval of that information by the library. Just being clear about that. And then the next paragraph, just basically rewording and including the South Dakota statute that talks about that. Just again, so it's clear and that this is a state law about how selection is done. Any questions about that stuff?
No, I
Okay.
think that makes it really clear.
So moving on page 5, along with online sources, online was spelled with a dash, and it's not done that way anymore. So I changed that. I did add, well, I guess it's on the next page about gifts. On page 6, I just added that we do have a book donation policy, which we didn't before, so they can look for all that information on that policy, and also the local author book donation purchases and book signings policy deals with some of that as well. So they're, instead of duplicating all that material, there's just, they know where to look. Maintenance of collection, I just expanded a little bit about deselection, or there are a bunch of different titles for it, but basically when you get rid of materials, why should you get rid of materials? And so this talks about that, and again also includes the South Dakota law that allows that. Circulation goes up when you weed a collection, and so yeah, so anyway, that's there. I changed the censorship heading to legal responsibilities and intellectual freedom. Again, it matches current usage of those terms, and added the little thing on page 7 about we abide by current copyright legislation, and that we're not responsible for what people do with those books if they're in violation of that, because that's not what we do. And then the other changes about the appendices, I just took out the appendices, period. Instead of having them separate, it's just all part of the document. I think the flow's a little better, and it solves some table of contents issues in the policy manual and stuff like that. So under procedures for challenged materials, just a grammar change there from person to those. And then if a complaint is made, staff will use the following procedures. In the way the policy reads now, if something is challenged, it's removed from the shelves. I think that is not necessary, and it's actually a tactic that people that want to ban books use to get books out of the library. All you have to do is turn in that paper and the book goes away for a while. Plus, if something has been challenged, people are going to want to look at it to make up their own minds, and if it's not available, they won't be able to do that. So, yeah. So, and that's one of the things that I have to say is on the Moms for Liberty site, they have listed all the schools in the area and all of the books that should be removed from them, taken from the national site. And the national site specifically says, we have not looked at all of these titles to decide if they should be removed or not, but better safe than sorry, essentially, is what they were saying. That, this title or this cover looks kind of suspect, so we're putting it on the list until we can look at it and decide, which is, just ridiculous. So that's why that is there. The concerned patron, whoever comes in, will be, instead of just being given the request for reconsideration, they'll be given a packet that has our policy, our collection development policy, everything related to this will be in a packet. So here's all the information you need to know. That way, we're being more transparent with them, and they know how the procedure works and
And it
everything.
falls back on them. They have to do the work if they.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Which, they would have to anyway, because they have to fill out the form. But this way they know exactly what's going to happen once they do that. And so again, it's providing transparency there. I took off inform the library director of the complaint because it's redundant, because the packet, once they fill out the sheet, that goes to the library director anyway, so that's there. The director will request a review and notify the board of trustees that is taking place. So this is all just grammar. The committee will consist, that the committee makeup hasn't changed. The committee shall be appointed by the library director is redundant, so that's gone. Then after receiving the material, the list of things that'll happen, I do have a question about holding a hearing with the complainant if a hearing is requested. There's no place on the form to ask if they want a meeting with the committee. So I don't know if we need to put that on the form, or if it's just something that can be discussed when the director contacts them. I would assume that they would want a chance to talk to the committee about why. They have to fill out on the form why, but they may want to talk about it. So
That hurts to
Have it on the
have.
So
them
if we
on.
just had, checks this box if you would like to, I don't know how I'll word it, but basically to meet with the committee.
Maybe after
discuss.
hearing the results of.
Well, see, I've got that in later, that right now, the way it's set up is that the committee makes a recommendation, gives it to the board, that's all it says. So it doesn't say whether the board votes to accept it or not. None of that is in the policy right now. So what I'm proposing is adding that the review committee will make a recommendation, or, well, the review committee will decide one way or the other.
So, and you say that the complainant can challenge there's a meeting if they want to challenge the ruling anyway.
Right.
Then
So-
I do think it's maybe unnecessary. I mean, I don't see the harm in it, but it might be unnecessary because,
Sure, and that was why I put some questions about this.
I don't know,
and
that's
so,
my feeling, like if
So if we took that out, basically the committee would get together, they would review the material, they would look at the complaint, they would say, okay, this is what we are going to do. If the person doesn't like that, then they can ask the board to review the decision.
and that's made clear to them somewhere?
Yeah,
in that?
that's
Okay.
that's down here. So the report is made. I got rid of recommendations because the committee isn't really recommending what to do. The committee's saying this is
what
our
we
finding.
plan to do. Right.
So then copies are filed, the complainant is notified. Then if they're not happy with that, they can write an appeal to the Board of Trustees. Then the Board of Trustees can decide whether to take it up or not.
So at that time, when we decide if they want to, that they can come speak? I mean, anybody can come speak to us.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, and then then it would become a board matter to decide if we want to explore this more or if we feel like the committee did a good job and there's no more room for discussion. Yeah, and then the, at the meeting, the Board of Trustees reserves the right to limit the length of public comments, and then the decision of the board is final. Those are added. So I would assume what would happen is if somebody complained to the board, at the next board meeting, the board would take up whether to have a separate hearing to look at this or not. And I assume that the complainant would be there or would, phone in or whatever. And then that would either be the end of it or there would be another separate meeting at some point to look at that. So, and then the last paragraph with respect to the reconsidered materials, basically it can't be challenged again for 3 years. So that way you can't just continually file over and over and over again. So they would have to wait 3 years to file a new request. And then after that, I added links to the ALA resources that are talked about in the document. So that way there's information there. And then got rid of the appendix page because we're not doing it that way. And then we just have the request form for purchase of materials. And then after that is the request for reconsideration. And I added the opening 3 paragraphs to the reconsideration of library materials, again, to explain what's going on and how the library views this. And then they fill out the front page and then they fill out the back page, which is all the same. That hasn't been changed. And then, and then on the backs, and then the last thing in the policy is the library bill of rights. And all that information would be given to the complainant when they came in, so they would have all that to look at.
I thought it read really well. all
Well,
the
good.
pages.
Most of the changes were taken from other documents, so, but some of the grammar, like I said, I just changed to make it, read a little better.
Why recreate the wheel? Plagiarism is next to godliness when it comes to this.
Well,
stuff. If it's
one
working.
thing that librarians really like to do is share policies.
Absolutely.
So,
Makes it easier.
yeah, so And one of the benefits of that is that you start to get consistency across policies, across libraries, so that, and I imagine cities probably do the same thing, so that way
Yeah.
it makes it easier if something is legally challenged. You can say, well, here's precedent.
Right, yep.
This is verbatim from wherever, and yeah. So,
I have
Yeah.
a question, Chris.
Yes.
On page 6,
mhm.
under, this policy is in compliance with South Dakota codified law.
Yes.
If any public library may discard over-duplicated, outdated, inappropriate, or worn library materials. It seems like that inappropriate is kind of what the rest of the policy is talking about. So who makes a determination? Is it the codified law that makes a determination?
No, that would be the library director who is empowered to purchase, and basically the library director is the final say in collection development.
Okay. So if someone asks you to buy a book that you think's inappropriate, you have the right, this is saying,
Well, this is for discarding anything that we have in the library.
right,
Yeah. So if somebody brought a book to me and said, well, if they said this needs to be pulled, we would still go through the process of reviewing it, just because I think that'd be the best way to do it. Now, if it was, the example I can give is, that I can think of off the top of my head, is that at one point in time, the Encyclopedia Britannica stated that African Americans don't have the same mental capacity as whites. That's a no-brainer, no pun intended. It's like, yeah, that shouldn't, that's obviously, that can go. And I'm not gonna convene a committee to look at that and go, oh, yeah.
Appropriate in terms of, yes.
okay.
But
So
if
that's
it's-
your discretion.
Yeah,
you're saying. Okay.
yeah, so, but yeah, and this is verbatim from the law book, so,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So that's, yeah,
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah,
You
when
bet.
we're questioning
You bet.
what's inappropriate, and then I see that under the,
Right.
but that clarifies it, that you
Yeah.
have the discretion to
yeah.
get rid of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's, obviously something that I don't think any librarian kind of takes lightly, because that's such a big thing, having to set aside your personal opinions and look at a book and go, wow, for whatever reason, this is a horrible book, but,
Yeah.
not, not that I can just go, oh, I don't want that in my library. Well, that's not how it works, There's, but at any rate, yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris.
So, yeah, any other things about that you think may need to be looked at, or,
If
No,
there
it looks very
changes.
clear.
Yeah.
okay,
So this was our first
okay,
reading.
I will, send it to, Eric or Mark to look at and make sure that that everything's still as
So-
good in there.
We don't vote until
Not
that
until
comes
the
back.
second.
Or is this considered the first reading?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could consider it first reading, and then if there were changes to be made in January, then it would go
Then it would go.
an extra month.
Okay.
I mean, we still would review it as it is,
Right.
so, yeah, I guess
Okay.
if there was a motion to approve the first reading
Okay,
pending legal review,
yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that first reading be approved as is, or
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First reading of the collection development policy.
all right. It's a big one, but thank you for
Chris,
going over that, because I think it's important.
no need to go.
For everybody to
in
know.
Executive session.
No
one-
need, I don't think so.
No one's in our audience to come forward, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Or so moved. So moved.
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks.